Okay, the best way I can think of to explain the whole toothpick thing is to show you on a video. So that's what I'm going to do. You take the toothpick, and if it was a drumstick, you want to put it up to about the shoulder into the receiver of your brass instrument. If you do this with French horn, you need to break the toothpick in half because it's too long and it'll poke the student in the face. But this, you'll see what I mean. So you hold it in the receiver like this, about up to where it gets to the widest part, up to the shoulder, and then you wedge the mouthpiece in the receiver with it. Depending on the toothpick and the instrument, you might have to pull it out a little bit, or you can push it in a little further. The bigger the gap it creates, the more resistance, or resistance is the wrong word, but the more work your student is going to have to do to produce the correct pitch. So it looks like this when you're done. As you can see, the mouthpiece is kind of wobbly. There's a gap right here where the toothpick is just making space, and the air will escape out that gap and just make it a little more challenging for them to play. They have to use more air, and it's very obvious if they're not blowing in a straight line. It sounds like this. So the tone quality is very fuzzy, but that's okay for the exercise that they're doing. What I show them is that if they're not blowing in a straight line, straight down the center of their mouthpiece, it makes a very wobbly sound, much more obviously than it does in their instrument as a whole. But if they're blowing at the correct, with the correct embouchure for the pitch that they're trying to play, it's significantly clearer, especially when you add in your fingerings. I do this a lot on scales, especially when we're playing in half notes. If they don't change for each pitch, then the pitch doesn't change because the air is escaping. It's like buzzing, but they can also practice using their fingerings at the same time. And there's a little bit more resistance than when you just buzz. I feel like it helps my students get a better grasp on blowing in a straight line than buzzing alone does. So I hope this is helpful to you. I hope it answered your question. It's really been useful to my students. I teach middle school, and my classes are only about 30 to 35 minutes. So I usually only do this every once in a while and never for the whole class because it's pretty exhausting. It does take a lot more air and a lot more control. But hopefully it helps somebody. Thanks.